dealing with this a couple of days ago, but we're going to talk about it here on today's show. And his comments, uninformed, echoed those of Morgan Freeman back in 2006. But Draymond Green said that he said we should get rid of Black History Month, deal with this top story. It's been going viral. The story's been going viral. We posted about it yesterday on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. This deals with Chris Rock's stand-up special on Netflix, and it streamed live on Netflix on Saturday, March 4th. I didn't even know what was going to happen. I found out about it while it was on live. I had classes today also, so I was preoccupied with that, to be honest with you. But I found out, from social media that his much anticipated special, A Selective Outrage, was streaming on Netflix. It was streaming live on Netflix. Okay. And there's about 10 minutes in it where he talks about being slapped by Will Smith at the Grammys last year. Okay. Now there's an article. We're going to clip number one here in just a second, Doug. Okay. There's an article from Variety.com, also NBC News as well. Chris Rock shreds Will Smith with Oscar slap jokes. Everybody called him a B, and who does he hit? Who does he hit? Me. All right. And he talked about, we remember he made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's bald head at the Oscars, G.I. Jane 2. Now, there's no evidence, and I followed this very closely. There's no evidence that Chris Rock knew that she suffered from alopecia, had a scalp issue, had and her hair was falling out. But it's pretty interesting how this unfolded. Almost a year after the infamous Oscars slap, comedian Chris Rock finally addressed what happened in his live Netflix special, Selective Outrage. After an hour of new material that only alluded to what they call Slapgate. Quote, they say words hurt. Anybody who says words hurt have never been punched in the face. He joked earlier in the night. Chris Rock finally broke down the aftermath of the onstage smack from Oscar winner Will Smith. So he said, "You all know what happened to me getting smacked by Suge Smith, etc." I'm gonna let you hear from Chris Rock here in just a minute. Now, despite the pressure from the press to open up about what happened, Chris Rock is adamant that he won't be dissecting it on a talk show. He said, "I'm not a victim, baby. You will never see me on Oprah or Gayle crying. You will never see it. It's never going to happen, etc." But as for whether the slap hurt, Chris Rock was direct. He said, "Will Smith is significantly bigger than me. We are not the same size. Will Smith does movies with his shirt off. You've never seen me do a movie with my shirt off. Will Smith played Muhammad Ali in a movie. You think I auditioned for that part?" He said, "I played Pookie in New Jack City. I played a piece of corn in Pootie Tang." Okay, probably one of the worst movies ever made in history, Pootie Tang. But okay. So we know that Will Smith was banned from the Oscars, attending the Oscars for 10 years. Now Jada Pinkett Smith revealed on her show, The Red Table, that she had an affair with August Alsina, R&B singer August Alsina. I can't name one song that he sings. But this was during a time that, if I remember correctly, this was during the time that Will Smith and Jada were separated, according to her. All right. Now, let's go to this clip here, Doug. I want the people to hear what happened. Let's go to clip one.
The slap heard around the world. Comedian Chris Rock finally had his say to an audience of millions.
Y'all know what happened to me. Getting smacked by Suge Smith.
Using his long-awaited special, Selective Outrage, streamed live on Netflix, to take big swings back at actor Will Smith.
And people like, did it hurt? It still hurts. I got summertime ringing in my ears. Oh, wow.
The slap, as you'll recall, happened when Rock made a joke at last year's Oscars about Jada Pinkett Smith's appearance.
Will Smith just smacked the out of me.
Smith eventually made a public apology.
My behavior was unacceptable
And was banned from the Oscars for a decade.
That's right.
Rock was long silent on the slap. Now, the way he tells it, he bore the brunt of Smith's alleged marital troubles. Some of Rock's hardest hits saved for Jada.
She started this. Nobody was thinking on it.
The timing of the Netflix special is no coincidence. Just a week ahead of this year's Oscars.
A lot of people go, Chris, how come you didn't do nothing back? I got parents. And you know what my parents taught me? Don't fight in front of white people.
Yet after all the punchlines, it isn't clear if Rock and Smith, who were close friends, have actually spoken. Representatives for the Smiths didn't respond to requests for comment.
I have rooted for Will Smith my whole life. And now I watch Emancipation just to see him get whooped.
About the slap that's still at center stage and stinging. Janice Mackey-Freyer, NBC News, Los Angeles.
All right. So I haven't seen it yet. I guess I'll renew my subscription to I guess I'll renew my subscription to Netflix because there's not a whole lot on Netflix that I want to see. I do have Hulu. I've been watching Abbott Elementary on Hulu since it won NAACP awards, and I've heard so much about it. But I guess I have to renew my subscription to Netflix at least for a month to watch this. So give us a call or post your comments here. 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Now, if we go back quickly here to the article from Variety, and there was also a good article from NBC News as well. Okay, let's close this out. Let's see here. So the comedian went on to reveal that the title of the show was also inspired by the slap. He said, quote, Will Smith practices selective outrage, Chris Rock explained. Everybody who really knows I had nothing to do with that stuff. I didn't have any entanglements. Now, for viewers that might not have understood Chris Rock, might not have understood what Chris Rock was referring to. He was referring to the infamous Red Table Talk episode featuring Jada Pinkett Smith, featuring Will Smith and his wife Jada Pinkett Smith, where she admitted to having an affair with another man. Okay. And Chris Rock said his wife was having sex with her son's friend. I normally would not talk about that. I have no idea why two talented people would do something that low down. We've all been cheated on. Everybody in here been cheated on. None of us ever been interviewed by the person that cheated on us. Okay. None of us have ever been interviewed by the person that cheated on us on television. She hurt him way more than he hurt me, Chris Rock said. All right. So it's pretty interesting. I didn't know that it was coming. I didn't know that the special was going to air. So you'll hear a lot more about that as well. It's going to be interesting to see what the response is going to be from the Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith camp as well. Maybe they'll do another Red Table Talk about it also. I don't know. All right. So Draymond Green is in the news. And something happened the last day of Black History Month. Now, you know, we talk about African 365 days a year. But February 28th, he made some very ignorant, uninformed comments. I'm going to let you hear what he said on the other side of the break. And then I'm going to go through and dissect this and show you why he was wrong. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. All right, stand by, everybody. Back from break in 4 minutes. How's everybody doing? All right, stand by. Back from break in 3 minutes. All right, we have to get ready for the Draymond Green story. Back from break in 3 minutes. Stand by, everybody. Everybody share this broadcasting on social media platforms. Stand by. Back from break in 1 minute. Stand by.
The Superstation, Detroit's only African-American talk radio. The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Del Media. We've got the topics, the guests, the opinions, and the facts. Michael Imhotep. We deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show to do with current events of history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy. See, let's just have consequences. Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, March 5th, 2023, I should say, March 5th, 2023, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. Okay, so we just wrapped up Black History Month, African American History Month, February 28th. A lot of us study this history year round, okay? And on February 28th, Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors made some comments at a post-game interview. And he was asked about a picture that he took with George Clinton. Okay. George Clinton, P-Funk All-Stars, One Nation Under a Groove, getting down just for the funk of it, right? Draymond Green was responding to a question about George Clinton. And he took a picture with George Clinton before the game at the Chase Center in San Francisco. Okay. Draymond Green said, I don't listen to George Clinton every day, but what I do want to go back to is Black History Month. He said, noting that he only wore the NBA's celebration themed shirts. They were wearing Black History Month celebration themed shirts. He said he only wore it because he couldn't find anything else to wear. Draymond Green made it clear that his issue is not the celebration of Black history. He made it clear his issue is not the celebration of Black history. Hey, Doug, let's go to clip 2 from Yahoo News. I want people to hear what Draymond Green had to say.
First time you see me in a Black History Month shirt, all Black History Month, and it's very intentional. And I really just threw this shirt on because I didn't have another shirt to throw on. But Black History Month, at some point, can we get rid of it? Like, at some point? Why we got to keep getting the shortest month to celebrate our history? You got governors want to take our history out of schools. And I'm not going to be the fool to go say, yeah, we get celebrated for 28 days. So at some point, I'd like to get rid of it. It's, we're making all these changes in the world. Can't talk about these people, can't talk about those people, can't say this, can't say that. At some point, it's time to get rid of Black History Month. I get rid of Black history, like they're trying to do. But Black History Month? Nah, teach my history from January 1st to December 31st, and then do it again, and then again, and then again, and then again. That's what I like to see.
This book that I'm holding up right here is called The Miseducation of the Negro by Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Came out in 1933. So, let's deal with this way for the sake of time. Okay. Let me go to my slides dealing with Dr. Carter G. Woodson and the history of Negro History Week, which became Black History Month. All right. First of all, the reason why it's in the month of February has nothing to do with it being the shortest month of the year. And I wish people would stop saying stupid ass stuff like that. Okay. If you had done something as simple as Google, why is Black History Month in February, it will come up with the information and let you know that it's because February contains the birth dates of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. Abraham Lincoln's birthday is February 12th. Frederick Douglass' birthday is February 14th. And these birth dates fall in the second week of February. So Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who had a PhD in American history from Harvard, who was an educator and who co-founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, September 9th, 1915, to scientifically study, preserve, and document the historical accomplishments and achievements of African Americans. He put the monthly cultural celebration in the second week of February because there were already celebrations going on in the African American community during that period of time. Okay, that's why it's in the month of February. It has nothing to do with it being the shortest month of the year, the coldest month of the year, or any of these other ignorant excuses that people make to disrespect Dr. Carter G. Woodson and attack a cultural celebration that we created ourselves. We did not ask white people permission to celebrate our history. We created that. Okay, we created that. All right, now if we look here at the I want to go to the PowerPoint presentation here. Just let me pull up this slide. All right, now Dr. Carter G. Woodson founded Negro History Week in 1926. He explained the reason behind the celebration in a pamphlet widely distributed months before the first celebration was to take place during the second week in February. He actually sent out a press release. He sent out a memo in late 1925 announcing that Negro History Week would be the second week in February 1926. He chose the second week in February in commemoration of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln's birthdays, as I explained. Dr. Carter G. Woodson explained that blacks knew, quote unquote, practically nothing about their history. For some of us, that's still the case, even for some black millionaires who could pay somebody to do the research for them and teach them. This is why this is just inexcusable. Draymond Green is a multimillionaire. You could pay somebody to teach you black history. Dr. Carter G. Woodson ultimately believed that African Americans could benefit immensely from knowledge of their past and accomplishments of their ancestors. He added that race prejudice was the byproduct of white beliefs that black people had not contributed anything of worth to world civilization. Because Black History Month, Negro History Week didn't just study the accomplishments and achievements of African Americans in this country or to this country, but worldwide. And it dealt with our contributions to world civilization. Now, when you look at pictures of Dr. Carter G. Woodson and anybody who's familiar with him, I very rarely see any pictures of Dr. Carter G. Woodson smiling. I rarely see any pictures of Dr. Carter G. Woodson smiling. I think it may have to do with the fact that he was trying to educate the people. Well, many of them didn't want to know about their history. That could become depressing. Okay. I see some pictures of him. He may have a quarter of a smile, half smile. Usually you don't see pictures of him, with a big smile. He's like, has a real serious look on his face. Okay. Now, Dr. Woodson argued that if the historical record was set straight, and that if the history of black people were studied along with the achievements of others in schools, not only would black youth develop a sense of pride and self-worth, not only would black youth develop a sense of pride and a sense of pride and self-worth, a sense of pride and self-worth, racism would also be abolished. Now, Dr. Woodson concluded, quote, let truth destroy the dividing prejudice of nationality and teach universal love without distinction of race, merit, or rank. With sublime enthusiasm and heavenly vision of the great teacher, let us help men rise above the race hate of their age unto the altruism of a rejuvenated universe. So Dr. Woodson talked about how a lot of the race hatred, a lot of the stereotypes of African Americans, things like this, come from our history not being taught in schools. And he felt that the history of African Americans need to be taught in every school across the country, not just schools where we were the predominant student body, but he felt that our history needed to be taught to everybody, regardless of race or ethnicity. Okay, we'll continue this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. Okay, stand by, everybody. Back from break in 4 minutes. Back from break in 3 minutes. Back from break in 2 minutes. Back from break in 2 minutes. Stand by, everybody. All right, who still needs to register for my new 12-week online courses, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school.
The opinions and the facts. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We do with current events and history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on.
This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy. See, elections have consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. All right, the calling number is 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. I was on Faraji Muhammad's show, The Culture, this past Monday, and we talked about a couple of topics that we talked about on the African History Network show last Sunday. Japanese Americans, some Japanese American groups that are uniting with African Americans to help us fight for reparations. We talked about that, and we have that segment re-airing on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network, and my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep. So we have that, and then also we discussed that, and then also we discussed Dilbert creator Scott Adams, his idiotic comments about African Americans, referring to African Americans as a hate group. We discussed those two topics as well on Faraji Muhammad's show, The Culture. Okay, that's on Roland Martin's network. So I'm on every Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can check that out. At the same time, listen to 910 a.m. WFDF, and we broadcast those segments on my social media platforms also. All right, I want to go back to, we'll go to the phone lines here in just a minute, but I want to go back to the Draymond Green clip here. Hold on just a second. Where'd that picture go? Okay, so also check out this article from Yahoo Sports. Warrior star Draymond Green says, get rid of Black History Month. Teach my history from January 1st to December 31st. Clearly, he hasn't read a book. Clearly, he has not studied the history of Black History Month and Dr. Carter G. Woodson. All right, let's go back to this clip, Doug. I want to play that clip again.
The first time you see me in a Black History Month shirt, all Black History Month, and it's very intentional. And I really just threw this shirt on because I didn't have another shirt to throw on. But Black History Month, at some point, can we get rid of it? Like, at some point? Why we got to keep getting the shortest month to celebrate our history? You got governors want to take our history out of schools. And I'm not going to be the fool to go say, yeah, we get celebrated for 28 days. So at some point, I'd like to get rid of it. It's, we're making all these changes in the world. Can't talk about these people, can't talk about those people, can't say this, can't say that. At some point, it's time to get rid of Black History Month. Get rid of Black history, like they're trying to do. But Black History Month? Nah, teach my history from January 1st to December 31st, and then do it again, and then again, and then again, and then again. That's what I like to see.
Okay. So let's continue with this history lesson, because, this is like Morgan Freeman in 2006, when Morgan Freeman was interviewed by Mike Wallace on 60 Minutes, and Morgan Freeman said, I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history. And we have a tendency to disrespect things that we create, like Kwanzaa. We have a tendency to disrespect things that we create and don't understand the history of them. And Black History Month was never designed to be the only time of the year we study our history. It's a cultural celebration. Also, there's an annual theme for Black History Month. Now, how many people notice there's an annual theme for Black History Month? And this year's annual theme is Black resistance and Black resistance movements. There's been an annual theme for Black History Month since 1928. Now, what I find interesting is when I hear people make comments like this, like Draymond Green and others, just totally uninformed comments. If they use Google for like 2 minutes, they could save themselves a lot of embarrassment. I noticed they never mentioned Dr. Carter G. Woodson. They never mentioned the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And they never mentioned the fact that there's been an annual theme for Black History Month or African American History Month since 1928. Going back to 1928, there's been an annual theme. Now, we've talked about the annual theme here on the show, and I did 4 free lectures, online lectures that are still there. You can go to our website, TheAHNShow.com, and register for them and watch them, dealing with Black resistance and Black resistance movements. This is the official website of ASALH, Association for the Study of African American Life and History. You see Dr. Woodson's picture right there. Once again, he's not smiling. Association for the Study of African American Life and History, established 1915. This picture of Dr. Woodson, he's not smiling. I can't say I blame him. And then it talks about this year's annual theme, okay? Black resistance. African Americans have resisted ongoing oppression in all forms, especially the racial terrorism of lynching, racial pogroms, and police killings since our arrival on these shores. Now, I said before in my online lectures, and people that watch them know I said this, that should be changed, not since we arrived on these shores, but since Europeans arrived here, because we were here in this land before Europeans got here. This was our land stolen from us. One of the names of this land was Turtle Island. You read Dr. David Imhotep's book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence. African people have been in the land we call the United States of America going back at least 51,700 years. These were the Khoisan, the short-statured Africans coming from Southern Africa, who are the ancestors to the Ainu and the Twa all around the world. That should be changed. We were here before Europeans got here. The sooner we understand that, and sooner we understand that this was our land stolen from us, you have a seismic shift in the consciousness of African people in this country overnight. But as long as we think we first came here in 1619, you're going to keep getting the short end of the stick. These efforts have been to advocate for a dignified, self-determined life in a just democratic society in the United States and beyond the United States political jurisdiction. So then they talk about the civil rights movement, sit-ins, boycotts, walkouts, etc. They talk about Langston Hughes and Dr. King, Septimus Clark, Fannie Lou Hamer. But then they go in and talk about, in an effort to live and maintain, protect economic success, Black people have organized, planned violent insurrections against those who enslaved them, such as in Haiti, and armed themselves against murderous white mobs, as in Memphis, Tennessee, 1892. And that was the Ma Store murders. And that's how Ida B. Wells got involved in the anti-lynching movement. Okay. They talk about Rosewood, Florida. January 5th was the anniversary of the Rosewood Massacre, January 5th, 1923. New Orleans, 1900. That's the Robert Charles riots in 1900. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll go to the phone lines when we come back from the break. All right, stand by. Okay, if you all like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. So let's keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting. All right, testing. Okay, now the audio quality should be good. How's the audio quality? If it's breaking up on your end, maybe refresh your screen. The audio quality should be good. All right, stand by. Back from break in 3 minutes. All right, how's everybody doing? We've got BOTR, we've got Alicia, Lynn, Ben Frank, Becky, Barry, just a few of the people watching, GM Ross, Kenya. Stand by. Also visit our website, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com. TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Back from break in 2 minutes. Okay, back from break in 2 minutes. Stand by.
(910 AM Superstation, a division of Adele Media. The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Adele Media. We got the topics, the guests, the opinions, and the facts.
I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network Show. We do recurring events of history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy to electrify consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. All right, calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. We're going to the phone lines here. Right before the break, we were talking about Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green's idiotic comments from February 28th. 2023, last day of African American History Month. This article here from Yahoo Sports, Warriors star Draymond Green says, get rid of Black History Month, teach my history from January 1st to December 31st. Now, number one, a lot of people do teach their history like year round. Should be more people reading the history and studying the history year round. But let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to, let's see, line one. We have line one. We have Grace. Lady Grace, line one. Thanks for holding. Lady Grace, tell us where you're calling from.
I'm in the Detroit metropolitan area. I've called your show maybe a couple times. The first time it was very short. But, and I'm just going to come very direct. Mm-hmm. It is very, very clear that your intelligence is very high when it comes to African American, Black history, whatever you want to call it. And that is undeniable. And I compliment you when the first time I've heard you. And that was really the first time I've heard you because I'm not from Detroit. And I complimented you because it was very refreshing to hear how much information was coming out. And it was just refreshing to me. Everybody is not going to take that the same way. And I'm saying the way Draymond spoke about that, it could be perceived another way from other people with their intelligence not so high as yours. They could perceive it another way. With your intelligence, you went straight in like it was an ignorant statement. I took it, and other people listened to it, that he was venting about it. Let's just not accept this month. Why it can't be the January to December, and we're constantly taking tokens that they're giving us. Meaning
they?
White folks,
Who's
because they chose to acknowledge that particular month federally, and we're supposed to just accept it. But some of us feel you didn't have to give us that because we're doing it anyway.
No, they didn't give us anything. Whoa. Slow down. They didn't give us anything. We created that. They did not give us anything. This is part of the problem. We keep acting like white people gave us. No, we created that. And we were celebrating it for a month. Slow down. We were celebrating it for a month before it was even recognized by President Gerald Ford in 1976, because that's when it officially went from a week to a monthly a celebration. We created this. Study Dr. Carter G. Woodson. This is part of the problem. We keep saying there's been an annual theme since 1928. White people did not create the annual. No, I'm not missing the point. No, I'm hearing you. I am not missing your point. The problem is we don't understand the point.
No.
We don't understand this history, and then we keep trying to say they keep giving us something. We created this, and we keep disrespecting what we created. Have you ever studied Dr. Carter G. Woodson?
Listen,
I can tell
you're totally way off the spectrum.
No.
I am actually saying when I say they gave, it was a federal acknowledgement.
It was a federal acknowledgement after we had been set. Slow down. It was a federal acknowledgement. I've read the proclamation from 1976. That's after we had been celebrating it for 50 years. They didn't give us a damn thing.
Okay.
They didn't give us anything. We started celebrating that in 1926 because we created that. The proclamation.
Was it on calendars? Was it on the national calendars?
Slow down.
People getting off work and all this kind of extra stuff.
Slow down. You don't get off work for Black History Month. See, this is the problem.
I was just making a reference.
Put her on hold for a second.
Wow.
This is the problem. This is the problem. Now, you got a Black millionaire who could hire the top 10 Black scholars to teach him Black history every day of the week when he's not playing basketball. Or you could Google, why is Black History Month in February? But we don't do things like that. And then we disrespect somebody like Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who sacrificed his life to educate a people who still don't read. He created a publishing company in 1921 called Associated Publishers, Inc. to publish textbooks for Black school children so Black teachers could teach Black school children their history. We need to stop making excuses. Go to the next caller. We need to stop making excuses. This makes absolutely no sense. We're in the information age. Everybody has a smartphone and we're dumber than ever. Let's go to Jerome.
Yes, this is Jerome speaking.
Yeah, Jerome, go ahead. You called in last Sunday, right, Jerome?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I remember you. Yeah, you called in later in the show, and we ran out of time. So go ahead. We have a little more time for you this Sunday. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's some things that are really important. First of all, I spent most of the day last Wednesday in Lansing talking to legislators.
Okay.
I went to caucus meetings. I talked to representatives. I even talked to the speaker of the House. And to my surprise, with at least three of them, they were surprised when I asked them, did they do any research on how our history, or the benefits of our history being in the books.
Benefits. Now, are you on a speakerphone? Your voice sounds muffled. Are you on a speakerphone, Jerome?
No, I'm not.
Oh, if you're on a Bluetooth or a speakerphone, come off of it because your voice sounds muffled.
I'm on a regular.
Okay, regular phone. Okay, just regular, no Bluetooth and no speakerphone. Okay, go ahead.
How about now?
Yeah, that sounds a little clearer. Go ahead, because I want to make sure everybody can hear you. Go ahead.
Well, the bottom line is when you talk about Carter G. Woodson, I've often said that what most impressed me with all the information is the cover of the book, which is a picture of a Black person with a padlock on their brain.
Mm-hmm. There's one version of it. There's one version of the cover. Go ahead.
Well, Well, I think the new version is going to have a picture of a person with blinders on and their ears cut off. And what you say all the time, a mind cannot do or teach what it does not know.
Right.
Here it is, and this is something to think about, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If our history was in the books, it will not change not one law, but it would force certification. And this is the reason that Governor DeSantis and all of the other states who already have a resolution saying you cannot teach any African American history in any public schools or institutions. They know that if our history was in the books, it would force certification of everyone with everything that they do. Because if we are Americans, that means that right now nobody at the highest level of government is obeying the law. Because in order for you to teach or to represent a white child or a white person, you have to have the necessary hours of accreditation, 3 credits through social studies of their history from kindergarten through college. But our history is not in the books. So you can do whatever you want to do with us. You can kick us, you can stomp us, throw it out of the window, do whatever you want to do.
Well, let me slow you down. Let me slow you down for a second. Let me slow you down for a second. There, different states have different laws and different standards when it comes to education. In various states, there is African American history in their textbooks. Now, some school districts may not have a separate African American history course, but there is some of that history in the textbooks. What has to happen is that there has to be the majority of control over education is at the state level, not the federal level. Okay, just like the majority of control over policing is not at the federal level, it's not in Congress, it's not with the president, it's at the state level, and that goes to the 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, states' rights. You do have, for instance, it was in I think it was Vermont or Delaware, one of those states that's making African American history classes. They have it. They're expanding it from. They're expanding it and making it mandatory. I'll try to find that article here because we're coming up on the break. I'll try to find that article here. What has to happen is that the history of African Americans has to be taught more in the schools, but you have to also fight against the anti-critical race theory laws that are being passed, especially in a lot of southern states. A lot of those laws are very vague, and the fact that they are vague is what it's doing is creating fear among a lot of teachers, because it's not necessarily clear what can be taught and what can't be taught. And, teachers naturally don't want to lose their jobs because they have families also. Go ahead, and I'll try to find that article, and I'll hold you over the break. But go ahead, Jerome.
Here's the key here. Every state where you become a teacher, and also you get your certification, you have to have the necessary hours certification of their history just to be certified as a teacher. In every state.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're fighting the wrong fight. Here in Michigan, especially where there's the largest concentration of African American people, and our mayor right here, right now, with the reparations task force, does not want the schools as part of it because he knows that the damages done by the state of Michigan, even if they had good intentions, were just the wrong decisions. They treated our children like war, and the evidence shows there was never a headline report on how their decisions affected the children. And the children never had legal representation. They had representation with the Keep the Vote No Takeover against the school board. The school board had legal representation.
Let people
the
know.
Teachers had legal representation.
Jerome, hold on just a second.
But the children never had legal representation.
Jerome, let people know what it is you're talking about. Legal representation regarding what? Because this is a national show. So the people listening across the country that don't know what you're talking about.
It's simply it. In the 20 years of emergency management, they made decisions on curriculum. They also made decisions on getting rid of the school center building. They took everything out of the curriculum. They gave away the radio station, which is like treating our children like war. That's the first thing that happens when you go behind enemy lines. You take over, you knock out all signs of communications, and you take over all radio stations. That's what they did to our children. And when they took the curriculum out, and now they're talking about Michigan State coming in to assist our schools with training programs, which they took all of our trades out of the schools on purpose ahead of time. And our current mayor was there then, along with the governor, and they're all in it now with Governor DeSantis and Trump and all the rest of them right now today. Our governor right now would go a long way if she would just continue to be historic. If she would just counter what Governor DeSantis is doing, but she's not doing it. Not one word. And all our
what Governor DeSantis is doing. What Governor DeSantis is doing. That was legislation that came from the state legislature that he signed, like the Anti-Woke Act. Okay, that was legislation that was signed that set the pretext for them to object to the advanced placement African American Studies course. All right, look, we're coming up on a break. When we come back, we'll continue this discussion. I'm going to share some more information about Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Then we're going to go to the next topic here, because this is only a 2-hour show. This weekend is the 58th anniversary celebration of Bloody Sunday. President Joe Biden was in Selma, Alabama, and he chided the GOP Republicans for trying to hide the truth about Black history in marking Bloody Sunday. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, back from break in 4 minutes. It helps like to do some research before you call into a national show. That's just, as somebody that's been doing radio for 13 years, that's just some cautionary advice. Back from break in 4 minutes. All right. Okay, who still needs to register for the online history classes I teach on Saturdays and Sundays? Saturdays is Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We had a great class on Saturday, March 4th. If you missed it, visit our website, TheAHNShow.com, TheAHNShow.com. You can register for it. As soon as you register, you can watch the course. You can watch the class that we just did this weekend. All right, stand by. Back from break in 2 minutes.
The After History Network show will do current events of history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy. See, let's just have consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show. All right, calling numbers 313-778-7600 is the calling number. We'll go back to the phone lines in a couple minutes here. We'll go to Fidel, who's holding also. Okay, so be sure to visit. I gave this out before, and apparently, well, let me just... Asalh.org, ASALH, Asalh.org. That is the official website of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, the organization that Dr. Carter G. Woodson co-founded September 9th, 1915. They have information there dealing with Black History Month, the origins of Black History Month, the annual themes, the themes going back to 1928. All this is all right here. So I'm confused. If we look at some of the themes dealt with the continent of Africa. 1928, civilization, a world achievement. 1929, possibility of putting Negro history in the curriculum. 1930, significant achievements of the Negro. 1933, Ethiopia meets era and truth. 1935, the Negro achievements in Africa. This was never designed just to study the accomplishments and achievements of African Americans in this country. 1936, African background outlined. 1941, the career of Frederick Douglass. 1950, outstanding moments in Negro history. 1960, strengthening America through education in Negro history and African culture. 1962, Negro history and new birth of freedom. 1966, freedom from racial myths and stereotypes through Negro history. 1969, changing the Afro-American image through history. 1970, 15th Amendment and Black America in the century. 1971, African civilization and culture, a worthy historical background. 1973, biography illuminates the Black experience. 1975, fulfilling America's promise, Black History Month. 1978, the year after the Roots miniseries debuted on ABC. 1978, Roots, Achievements, and Projections. 1981, Black History, Role Model for Youth. 1982, Afro-American Survival. 1992, the 500th year commemoration of Christopher Columbus landing in the Caribbean in the Bahamas, October 12, 1492. 1992, African roots experience new worlds, pre-Columbus to space exploration. All right. So read that at asalh.org. Okay, let me go back to this here because we ran out of time. We'll go back to the phone lines here in just a second. Because I some of this stuff I really don't understand. I really, really don't. Because we'll Google every damn thing else. Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, Nicki Minaj, August Alsina. We'll Google everything else. If you Google why is Black History Month in February, who created Black History Month, The phone will explode. It's just all the information is there. Now, it is different if you don't know how to use Google. I'll give you a pass. Okay? If you don't know how to use Google, if you ain't never Googled nothing in your life, if you don't know how to use a smartphone, you don't know how to use a computer, okay. All right. I want to go back to this. Had a couple slides left here. Let's go back to this one here. Okay, so Dr. Woodson argued. Let me see. Let me go to the next one here. Hold on. All right. Let's see here. Let's go back. Okay, Negro History Week was the first major achievement in popularizing Black history and was unique in that it focused on Black youth. Now, did white people tell us to focus on Black youth? No, Dr. Woodson was an educator. He was born 10 years after slavery ended. He was born in 1875. Negro History Week was the first major achievement in popularizing Black history and was unique in that it focused on Black youth. Dr. Woodson realized that the miseducation of Black people began in their homes, communities, and elementary schools. We could also say on some radio shows, and we could say on some social media platforms as well today. Dr. Carter G. Woodson's vision of Negro History Week was optimistic, strategic, and long-term. Optimistic, strategic, and long-term. Not the white man's vision of Negro History Week, but Dr. Woodson's vision because he created it. Dr. Carter G. Woodson wanted this modest week-long celebration to serve as a stepping stone toward the gradual introduction of Black history into the curricula of all levels of the U.S. educational system, because he was an educator. Dr. Carter G. Woodson hoped that Negro History Week would evolve into Negro History Year, as he affirmed from time to time. Dr. Woodson consistently instructs observing the week that they needed to diligently prepare for the celebration months in advance, and that after mid-February, they needed to continue acknowledging the role of African descendants in world history. This is what Dr. Woodson was doing in 1926 and 27, 28, and 29 and 30 with a lot less resources than we have today. Most of our people didn't have telephones in the 20s and 30s. And no internet, no text messaging, no cell phones. This brother created a publishing company in 1921, Associated Publishers, Inc., created the Journal of Negro History in 1916 to publish scholarly papers by African-American historians. And we sitting up here talking about what the white man won't let us do and what the white man gave us and all this nonsense. Are you serious? Quote, Negro History Week should be a demonstration of what has been done in the study of the Negro during the year, and at the same time as a demonstration of greater things to be accomplished. Dr. Woodson instructed school teachers because this cultural celebration focused on children, and that was the week of the year that school children were supposed to demonstrate what they had been studying all year round about the history of African people. Not 1 week out the year, study our history, study it year round, and then that's a cultural celebration. So that second week in February, you demonstrate what you've been studying all year round. We have it as backwards. Dr. Woodson said a subject which receives attention 1 week out of the 36 will not mean much to anyone because it was never designed to be the only time of the year we study our history. People usually say that to people that don't study our history. Read Dr. Pero Gaglo Dagbovi's book, Carter G. Woodson in Washington, D.C., The Fall of Black History. He's a history professor at Michigan State University. I met him a few years ago at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. He was speaking there for Black History Month, and he was talking about his book. Fantastic book dealing with the life of Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Also, my friend, Dr. Darrell Scott, who's a former history professor at Howard University. Darrell Scott, I think he's at Morgan State now. Dr. Darrell Scott is a past president of ASALH for many years. He wrote a book on Dr. Woodson as well. All right, we'll continue this on the other side of the break. When we come back, we'll talk about Bloody Sunday, March 7th, 1965, and they commemorated Bloody Sunday this weekend in Selma, Alabama. I'll let you hear some comments from President Joe Biden. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right. Back from break in 4 minutes. All right, everybody, if you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network. $ the AHN show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. Stand by. Back from break in 3 minutes. Stand by. All right, back from break in 1 minute.
The opinions and the facts.
I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We do recurring events and history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy. See, elections have consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. All right, if you missed this weekend's online history classes that I taught, you can still register for the online courses and you can watch the classes on demand. Visit our website, TheAHNShow.com, TheAHNShow.com. On Saturdays, I teach 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I teach ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. It is, we do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch them anytime. I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, video clips, articles, etc. The class is on sale $80, regularly $130. And I'm going to post the link here right on the thread of the broadcast. And then on Sundays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I teach from the Black resistance movements from the Haitian Revolution to the U.S. Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, Black Power Movement. Okay, 1800 to 1968, 1800 to 1968. We go through and look at history chronologically from 1800 to 1968. And to understand what happened to us after slavery ended, what were the laws and policies put in place to put us right where we are today, to understand where we need to go from here. All right. And this is extremely crucial because when we look at the voter suppression that's taking place right now, this is a resurgence of voter suppression, but we see it going back to the Reconstruction era. Okay. Which is 1865, 1877, and after Reconstruction ends. In class today, we dealt with the Haitian Revolution and started talking about the Louisiana Purchase of 1803, because the Haitian Revolution and Louisiana Purchase, those two events are related. Okay, those two events are related. And you have to understand a chronology of history. All right. Historical events don't happen in a vacuum. They are the result of a sequence of historical events that take place. Okay. That lead up to other events happening. All right. So visit our website, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and you can register for classes. So our next class is Saturday. It'll be Saturday, March 12th and Sunday, March 13th. Okay, let's continue here. Let's go back to the phone lines. Let's go to Jerome so he can make his last comments, because I have other topics to get to and run out of time. Go ahead, Jerome, with your last comments. Do we have Jerome? Okay. Who we have? Fidel. Okay, Fidel, go ahead with your question or comment, Fidel. Fidel, we have Fidel on the line. We're on the air live. Okay, let's get Fidel straight. We'll come back to him. Let me go back to the slides I was showing here. And this is from a PowerPoint presentation I do dealing with African American History Month, Dr. Carter G. Woodson, but also in the Black resistance movement free lectures I was doing during Black History Month as well. We talked about that also. Okay. All right. And Dr. Carter G. Woodson he was born December 19th, 1875, born in Virginia, died April 3rd, 1950. Okay. April 3rd, 1950. All right. Now I want to go to this next story here. And this deals with Bloody Sunday, March 7th, 1965. So you saw a lot of coverage this weekend dealing with the 58th anniversary, 58th commemoration of Bloody Sunday. And this is when African Americans like John Lewis, Hosea Williams, and others were trying to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge. This was after Jimmy Lee Jackson was shot and killed by Alabama state troopers. Contrary to what they said on MSNBC today, Dr. King was not at Bloody Sunday. Okay. He was not there. So, and also Reverend Jesse Jackson was not there as well. Reverend Jesse Jackson had pneumonia. But there was an article from TheHill.com, TheHill.com, that dealt with, it talked about what took place today. President Joe Biden was there for the march, and he gave a speech there. I'm gonna let you hear some of the speech here in just a minute. Okay. President Joe Biden chides GOP for trying to hide the truth about Black history in marking Bloody Sunday. Okay. So we'll go to cue up clip number 3 for me, Doug. We'll come to clip 3 in just a minute here. All right. So if we look at this article, in just a second here, this is jumping around on me. President Joe Biden on Sunday called out Republicans for efforts to limit teaching parts of Black history as he marked the 58th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. Now, we've talked about these voters, we've talked about these anti-critical race theory bills here on this show extensively. And also, I talked about the advanced placement in African American Studies course that Governor Ron DeSantis is blocking in Florida and the Florida Department of Education. Now, let me ask you all a question. See, we keep giving white people too much power over us and keep talking about what they won't let us do and all this nonsense. So who has gone to the College Board's website to look at the 234-page framework that they uploaded that's there, that's free? Because I've gone and looked at it, and I've talked about it here on this show as well as on Faraji Muhammad's show. It's collegeboard.org, collegeboard.org, and they have the framework there. Now I got to go back and find it. You can also Google it in different articles that are written about it. They have it there, but you can just search for AP African American Studies, and it comes up with the pilot. And let's see here. It'll come up with the whole thing, AP course and exam. Okay, now who has gone through to look at this? What I said a couple of weeks ago on Faraji Muhammad's show is that, and this is they have the whole 234-page framework here, official AP Studies coursework. View the framework. It's right here. Let me show you this here. You can go to their website and just search for it. Okay. And then it comes up. Pilot AP African American Studies. Okay. And then it shows you here in the blue with the blue background, official AP African American Studies course framework. View the framework. Click right there. It comes up with the PDF. This is 234 pages. It's the whole curriculum. It comes up. You can look at this for free. Okay. Now, if you scroll down, I think it starts page 15. What I want. Where is that? Page 11. Then we look at page 13. They break down the units. I want to look at the breakdown of the units. They show it's broken into 4 units, if I remember correctly. This where is it? Okay, hold on, let me back up. It's or around page 9, I think it is, where they show right here. This is what I want. Yeah, page 9. Okay, then we go into page 10. Course at a glance. Units and instructional focus. Unit 1, origins of the African diaspora. Origins of the African diaspora. So this is a year-long course. It's broken up into 4 units. Okay. Here's what's in Unit 1. Introduction to African American Studies. Introduction to African American Studies. The strength and complexity of early African societies, early West African empires, early African kingdoms and city-states, early Africa and global politics. Then unit number 2 deals with freedom, enslavement, and resistance. Atlantic Africans and the transatlantic slave trade, from capture to sale, the Middle Passage, slavery, labor, and American law. Now, we don't need white people's permission to set up study groups in our communities and go through and break down all these topics, go through and break down all this information in study groups. We don't need white people's permission to do that. Who has said that we need to do that? How many people have you heard saying that? All the people complaining on MSNBC and these different shows that people call into, who has said that? We'll deal with this on the other side of the break. This to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Back from break in 4 minutes. Back from break in 4 minutes. Stand by. All right, everybody. Okay, if you like this type of information, give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on the broadcast. How's the sound? How's the sound quality? It should be good. It should be good because the upgrade that I just made to the equipment should be fantastic. Okay, back from break in 3 minutes. So this helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills. Also register for the online classes. Who still needs to register for the 2 online history courses I teach? Now, you can use this information with your children. The content is PG-13, so I don't do a lot of cursing. It's not crazy, anything like that. It's not. I don't do that type of stuff. So you can use this with your children. I would say the content is PG-13. So our next class is going to be Saturday, March 12th. I'm sorry, that'd be Saturday, March 11th. Then on the 4th. Yeah, Saturday, March 11th. And any classes that you missed, they're archived. You can go back and watch them. Okay. And even after the course is over with, you can go back and watch as much as you want to. Now, if you've taken any of my online courses in the past, email us at TheAHNShow@TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com because you are a returning student. You'll get a 50% discount on our course bundle. So you'll get 50% off the course bundle. Course bundle is on sale $120. There's a $300 value. There's also 5 of my lectures that will be uploaded to the video library. So they'll be in video format. Back from break in 1 minute.
Imhotep. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We do recurring events and history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy. See, elections have consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
All right, welcome back to the African History Network show. Okay, we're running out of time here, so this is what we're going to do. If we look at this article here, we're going to clip 3 with Joe Biden here. Just a second, Doug, and I need to get that queued up also. All right, if we look at this article from thehill.com. TheHill.com. Name of this article is Biden chides GOP for trying to hide the truth about Black history in marking Bloody Sunday. So President Joe Biden on Sunday called out Republicans for efforts to limit teaching Black history as he marked the 58th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, Bloody Sunday. History matters, President Joe Biden said at the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Edmund Pettus was a member of the Ku Klux Klan. He's also a senator there in Alabama. History matters, Biden said at the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma. Quote, the truth matters, notwithstanding what the other team is trying to hide. They're trying to hide the truth. So Biden highlighted the importance of teaching African American studies, which comes amid a growing debate over Republicans pushing to prevent the teaching of certain subject matters, such as African American studies in schools. Quote, no matter how hard some people try, we can't just choose to learn what we want to know, but not what we should know. We should learn everything, the good, the bad, the truth of who we are as a nation, and everyone should know the truth of Selma, Biden said. Okay, he also talked about pushing for the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. That ain't gonna happen with Republicans in control of the House. No Republicans in the House of Representatives supported the John Lewis Voting Rights Act when Democrats controlled the House. That bill passed in November 2021, I think it was. It passed the House of Representatives by a vote of 219 to 211. No Republicans support that in the House or the Senate. Okay, 219 Republicans voted no on the bill after they sat up there and cried about John Lewis dying and all this stuff. They're not voting for that. The strategy that we're using to get that bill passed, we're not using the right strategy. You need to go after these corporations, put economic pressure on some of these corporations, and have targeted, sustained economic withdrawal strategy of certain corporations that help finance and put some of these Republicans in office who are blocking the bill. We're not speaking a language that these people understand. Okay, let's go to clip 3 of President Joe Biden, Doug.
Billions of dollars committed to build Africa, and Goal is going to have the largest solar facility in all of Africa. We're investing in Africa because Africa is important and because everything happening there will affect us. So, folks, that's number one. Number two, I want to make sure that, I've told the mayor, I think the mayor's being the toughest job in America. But one of the mayors who took some time to come and help me put together my program, Keisha Lance Bottoms. Keisha, would you stand up? From Atlanta. She's understandably going home because she's got some kids and it's about time. She promised she'd stay as long as she did, and she did. But we got another mayor coming too. So anyway, thank you very much, Keisha. And folks, last time I was here, my daughter, a social worker, Ashley Biden, was with me. She couldn't be with me today. She wanted to because she's working on a project for battered women up in Delaware and Philadelphia. So she sends her best. On this stage, the children of God started a journey, walking, not saying a word, beaten, tear gas. On this bridge, blood was given to help redeem the soul of America. Last time he was here, I was with him, John Lewis. They were his words. Mayor Perkins, Congressman Terry Sewell, members of Congress, all of you are here. Charles Maudlin, and all of the foot soldiers of Selma. distinguished guests, you were among the final words of our dear friend John Lewis delivered as he stood on the bridge over troubled waters 3 years ago. I had the privilege of standing with him. Words that give meaning to the past and purpose to the future. I've been on this bridge before as vice president, as a candidate for president, and was before as a senator, because history matters. And now I'm here as your president. The truth matters, notwithstanding what the other team is trying to hide. They're trying to hide the truth. No matter how hard some people try, we can't just choose to learn what we want to know and not what we should know. We should learn everything, the good, the bad, the truth of who we are as a nation. And everyone should know the truth of Selma. 600 believers put faith in action to march across that bridge named after the Grand Dragon of the KKK. They're on their way to the state capital of Montgomery to claim their fundamental right to vote, laid in the bedrock of our Constitution, but stolen by hate, harbored in too many hearts. With unflinching courage, foot soldiers for March for Justice marched through the valley of the shadow of death, and they feared no evil. The forces of hate conspired to demise, but they endured. They forced the country to confront the hard truth and to act to keep the promise of America alive. I was a student up north in the civil rights movement. I remember feeling how guilty I was. I wasn't here. How could we all be up there? And you going through what you went through, looking at those, I can still picture the troopers with their batons and wands and whips. The promise that declares we're all created and deserve to be treated equally. 2 weeks later, they marched to Montgomery with Dr. King, an even bigger coalition of people from different races and faiths. 5 months later, the Voting Rights Act was signed into law 5 months later.
Okay, pause it right there, Doug. Pause it right there. Pause it right there. Okay. All right. So we're running out of time here. Those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching. We're going to keep going for a few more minutes. I want you to hear the interview that Fox 11 Los Angeles did with me about Pio Pico, the last Mexican governor of California. The mistake that's being made right now dealing with the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. One, you should take John Lewis' name off of it and just call it a Voting Rights Act or freedom to vote, whatever you want to call it. Two, you have to deal with how white people are being disenfranchised. We're going to go to the story dealing with the segment from Roland Martin Unfiltered, dealing with what they're trying to do in Texas and remove voting booths from college campuses. You have 48 million disabled Americans who are registered voters. When you talk about taking away voter drop boxes or mail-in ballots, that hurts them of different races. When you have, and right now, Republicans are targeting people who lean toward voting for Democrats, regardless of race. So that hurts a lot of white women as well. The women's reproductive movement, you have to bring them into this as well. There's a lot of non-African American people who are being hurt by these voter suppression bills. You can't approach this like 1965 Selma, Alabama. Then African Americans were the target. Okay, now they're targeting people who are more likely to vote for Democrats. Okay, so you have to change your strategy. Okay, right now it's correct. Wrong behavior is not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next Sunday. All right, stand by. All right, let me disconnect this call. Okay, let's go back to a little bit more of this clip here from President Joe Biden from today.
"5 months later. But as I come here in commemoration, not for show, Selma is a reckoning. The right to vote, to have your vote counted, is the threshold of democracy and liberty. With it, anything's possible. Without it, without that right, nothing is possible. And this fundamental right remains under assault. The conservative Supreme Court has gutted the Voting Rights Act over the years. Since the 2020 election, a wave of states and dozens of anti-voting laws fueled by the big lie and the election deniers now elected to office. The new law here in Alabama, among other things, enacted a new congressional map that discriminated against black voters by failing to include what should have been a new predominantly black district. That case, as you all know better than I, is in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. And my U.S. Department of Justice has joined many of you in arguing that the map violates the Voting Rights Act. All of this after a deadly insurrection on January the 6th. We must remain vigilant. In January, I signed the Electoral Count Reform Act to protect the will of the people and the peaceful transfer of power. But we know that we must get the votes in Congress to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. I made it clear I will not let a filibuster obstruct the sacred right to vote, the right of any other right to vote from there. And that's why we follow the words that you all have, the words of Dr. King. He said, give us the ballot, we will place judges on the bench who will do justly. Led by Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson and more black women appointed to the federal appellate court than every other president in history has done, we're about to do that. After Senate Republicans blocked the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act last year, I did what was in my power. I signed an executive order requiring all the key elements of the bill applied to federal law enforcement. I couldn't make it to states. Banning chokeholds, greatly restricting no-knock warrants, establishing a database for police misconduct, advancing effective and accountable community policing that builds public trust. We'll keep fighting to pass the reform nationwide. Folks, we passed the most significant gun safety law in 30 years. But I'm not ready to stop, nor is Jim, Fiber, or anybody else up there ready to stop. I led the effort when I was a senator to pass the assault weapons ban, and we banned assault. We're going to ban assault weapons again. They matter. When we have the ban, fewer people die, fewer mass shootings. And together we're saying loud and clearly that in America, hate and extremism will not prevail, although they are rearing their ugly head in significance now. Silence, as the saying goes, silence is complicity. And I promise you, my administration will not remain silent. I promise you. The task before us is about justice, but it's also about jobs, financial stability, the ability to generate generational wealth. It's about hope, self-worth. It's about dignity. That's why we're building an economy that I've been significantly criticized for, but I make no apologies, that grows the economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down. We weren't poor, but we weren't wealthy. We were a typical middle-class family with a three-bedroom home and 4 kids, and a grandpa living with us. I don't remember its kitchen table with the trickle-down economic problem. Because when we do that, we build from the middle out, the bottom up. The poor have a ladder up. The middle class does very well, and the wealthy still do well. We all do well. But we know there's work to do, especially as you recover from this devastating tornado and the storms that hit in January. That's why, working with Terry and the mayor, I issued a major disaster declaration immediately, committing the federal government to cover 100% of the debris removal. We also are paying for temporary housing, home repairs, supporting local businesses, small businesses, as well as doing in other towns devastated as you have been. To date, we provided $8 million in recovery, and we're just getting started the rebuilding effort. And we'll be here as long as it takes. The first major bill we passed without a single vote from the other team was the American Rescue Plan when I was sworn in. That has provided $60 million to Selma and Dallas County directly. One of the things, having been a county official for 2 years, I learned a long time ago, I didn't like anything that went through the state legislature. I'm not joking. Good people. But they all want a piece of it. It's supposed to come to my county. It better damn well come to my county directly. It's going directly to your county, directly to your city, to keep nurses, police officers, firefighters on the job. Selma's also benefited from the bipartisan infrastructure law, which is a multi-billion-dollar commitment to rebuild this country. How can we be the leading economy in the world if we don't have the best roads, ports, and so on? How can we be that? Well, guess what? It's the largest investment in infrastructure since Eisenhower's interstate highway system. Here in Selma, we're funding major water projects. We're moving over 800 poisonous lead pipe service lines that are over 100 years old because every child should be able to turn on a faucet in the county and the city. No parent, God forbid another pandemic, is going to have to sit in the McDonald's parking lot to use their internet to be able to have their kids' homework be done. Look, and in the process, these investments are going to create good paying jobs. Most of these jobs don't require college degrees. To be able to hire here, hire in your community. And by the way, the unemployment rate for African Americans under my administration is the second lowest it's ever been in all of American history. And we're going to continue to make sure that happens. And by the way, I'm the only president I've learned that had permanent offices in the White House for the Divine Nine and the HBCUs. I figured it out, man. I figured it out. Now I know that the vice president thinks that Howard's the best. Delaware State University, where I come from. But all kidding aside, we've contributed billions of dollars to put HBCUs in the position because they don't have, I mean it seriously, billions of dollars. They don't have the kind of trust funds that the major schools have. So guess what? It leaves out an awful lot of qualified African Americans at HBCUs from learning how to deal with cybersecurity, learn how to deal with all the stuff of the future. Guess what? Right now they have that, and I'm able, as a president of the United States, to award these contracts directly there because they have the lab. I'm serious. It's a big deal. There's a lot more we're doing for some cities like all across America. When I passed the Inflation Reduction, and the other team didn't, which allows Medicare to negotiate drug prices for the first time. You realize in America, we pay more for prescription drugs than any nation in the world. Hear me? More. I've been fighting this for the last 25 years, but guess what? We finally beat Big Pharma. So now, oh man, you have no idea how good I felt about that one. Because what's happened? What happened is now Medicare can say, we are not going to pay you more than $35 instead of $400 for that insulin that you need. And guess what that means? Not only it reduces prices for people who need help, but it reduces the federal budget by $158 billion. You know, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. In addition to that, we got a commitment initially, we reduced for anybody needing that insulin. Well, guess what? The other team voted that down too. But along came the largest maker of insulin in the country. They, as they said, seen the Lord. They saw light. And here's the deal, I'm not kidding. Eli Lilly, one of the biggest drug makers of insulin, they just announced they're gonna cap the cost of all their insulin at $35. And guess what that means? No other company gonna be able to charge more than that because no one's gonna buy it. For everyone else with diabetes, that's gonna help 500,000 folks in Alabama today are on this. And it's gonna reduce the price from somewhere between $400 and $600 a month to $35 a month.
All right, so you can watch the rest of that. That's at whitehouse.gov. President Biden delivers remarks on the importance of commemorating Bloody Sunday. That's from March 5th, 2023. Okay, I want to go to this story here. So back on February 17th on Roland Martin Unfiltered, we talked about this story out of Texas. And this story here comes from thehill.com. Texas lawmaker proposes bill to prohibit polling places at colleges, college campuses. Texas lawmaker proposes bill to prohibit polling places at colleges. This is from February 17th, 2023. A Texas lawmaker has proposed a bill to prohibit colleges and universities from having polling places on campus and would go into effect as early as September 2023. Texas State Representative Kerry Isaac, who's a Republican, of course, introduced the proposal on Thursday. This is mid-February, okay? On Thursday, so that would have been February 16th. To prevent all counties in the state from designating a polling place location on the campus of an institution of higher education. Now, the state's law defines an institution of higher education as any public technical institute, public junior college, public senior college or university, medical or dental unit, public state college, or other agency of higher education. If passed, the bill would take effect September 1st. Now, the San Antonio Express News reported on Friday, February 17th, that the earliest that most bills can go into effect if they do not receive support from 2/3 of the state legislature is August 27th, 2023. Republicans control a majority of both houses of the Texas state legislature. Republicans control a majority of both houses of the Texas state legislature. Now, the outlet, the San Antonio Express News, reported that the bill comes after another was filed that would require counties to include a certain number of polling locations on college campuses based on the size of enrollment, Now, Republican Kerry Isaac said in a Tuesday statement announcing her filing of the bill that she is concerned with student safety in the aftermath of the shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas in May, and a stabbing at the University of Texas at Austin. Quote, "We must protect places of education where our children and young children gather." So let me get this straight. You're so concerned about the safety, you want to take away polling places that make it easier for college students to vote. And college students are more likely to vote for Democrats than Republicans. So you're so concerned about their safety that you want to take away polling places on college campuses. if you are concerned about their safety, then what common sense gun laws have you called for in the state of Texas? Because your governor signed a law, Governor Greg Abbott signed a law, if I remember correctly, and people can carry guns, concealed carry, don't have to have training, don't have to have a concealed pistol license in Texas. So what common sense, if you're concerned about the safety of college students and you want to cite Uvalde, Texas, and a gunman there, or you want to cite something else, a gunman, what common sense gun laws have you proposed, Kerry Isaac? So she said, we must protect places of education where our children and young people gather. As a mom with one child on a college campus and one on a public school campus, I think about the safety of my sons and their classmates regularly. I have been working on a package of campus safety legislation that I believe would protect open college, public school, and charter school campuses. She added that she is also drafting a piece of legislation to ban polling places from K through 12 public and charter schools, and another to expand the state's school marshal program to include volunteers from members of the military and police officers. So you don't think any of the volunteers from the military would shoot up the damn school, but you're afraid that somebody coming to vote is going to shoot up the school. You don't think somebody from the military who has post-traumatic stress disorder, something like that, would shoot up the school, but you're going to have volunteers, state school marshal program to include volunteers from members of the military and police officers. But people vote like once every 2 years, maybe once a year if there's a proposal or something like that. It's not like they vote every day. These are the games people are playing. In Texas, of all places. Move Texas, a nonprofit organization that seeks to make underrepresented youth communities civically active, denounced Representative Kerry Isaac's proposal in a statement, calling it an unmistakable and blatant way to suppress people's right to vote. Now, this is an example. They didn't say they're taking it away from HBCUs. They didn't say she's not proposing to take away polling places from schools that have a high African-American population. She's proposing taking it away from all college campuses in Texas. Well, college students are more likely to vote for Democrats than Republicans. The group Move Texas, a nonprofit organization that seeks to make underrepresented youth communities civically active. Move Texas said lawmakers should address the issue of long lines and wait times at polling locations on college campuses by expanding the number of available locations instead of prohibiting them. I guess Kerry Isaac is going to address the long lines at polling places at college campuses by just removing the polling places at college campuses. See, we got rid of it. Okay, you don't have to worry about high gas prices. We're just going to repossess your car, and you don't have to worry about gas prices. Okay. So we discussed this on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, February 17th. Let's go to this clip.
Georgia citizen rights attorney as well.
Let me back this up because he's coming to me.
You know what? They really not going to do this.
Let me back this up. Okay.
We have Michael Imhotep, host of the African History Network show, Matt Manning, civil rights attorney there in Texas, and also Joe Richardson, a civil rights attorney as well. Matt, I'll start with you. You know, this is the thing that people have to understand. They can't just go, you know what, they really not going to do this whole deal. Yeah, it could actually pass. Because again, what Republicans are trying to do is they are trying to lay the groundwork to steal elections. They saw what happened with the Roe v. Wade decision. They saw young voters turn the GOP away in 2022. If it was not for young voters, you would not have had Democrats being able to withstand what should have been a red wave. This is a direct assault on voters between 18 and 25 years old. And folks had better understand, you're going to see this happen all across the country, because what they want to do is they want to make it harder. And so if you make it harder for young folks to vote, they're thinking they're not going to travel a far distance away. I remember I think it was in 2012, I believe, that a county clerk in Wisconsin admitted to moving an early voting location off of a college campus to a location far out that had bad parking. And so because she said all them young kids, they were voting Democrat. This is what they do. This is about rigging and stealing elections for Republicans.
It absolutely is. And what I think is especially important in terms of context in this situation is Kerry Isaac is the representative for Hays County, which is just south of Austin, right where I grew up. Hays County is the county where Texas State University is. So there may be an even deeper political thing here, because Texas State University in San Marcos City has flowed in the last 10 or 15 years, and they actually just elected their first blue DA there in a very long time. So this is exactly what you're saying. It's part and parcel with the assault that we've seen Republicans very brazenly commit as it relates to voting. And the thing about this that's so indefensible is that there is really no logical reason that you would do this. So many people vote on college campuses. It's a place that even non-students go to vote, because people know it's customarily where you can go to vote. So the only reason you do this is to suppress votes and to suppress participation. And even if the Republicans don't think this will actually pass, this is to signal, hey, we're going to keep pushing the bounds out further and make it exceedingly clear that we're playing for keeps, and we want to rig the rest of, the generations going forward as it relates to the courts, as it relates to everything, and all of that happens via the ballot box.
Joe, again, I think what people have to stop underestimating how evil works. This is about power. And they know if we can knock off 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,000, 10,000 votes, hey, that's the margin for victory. Let me remind people, Biden-Harris wins Georgia by 12,000 votes. They barely won Arizona by a similar margin. It ain't that hard to do this.
Right. And, it's all about dividing and conquering. And one of the things that you want to be able to do, the power of suggestion is very prevalent here. What they want to do is suggest to you, young voter of color, that you shouldn't be voting by just making it more difficult. Things in the media, things that are said, you see what's happening in Florida, even with, degrading the importance of African-American history. They want to suggest that you don't belong and that your voice doesn't count. But at the same time, they got to make it harder for you to vote, because in fact, your voice does count. And if you make it heard, they're going to be outnumbered. So they're not going to win on numbers. They're not going to win on ideas. And divide and conquer is getting harder, because there's more people to divide and conquer, because they're getting ready to get outnumbered. And so what they want to do is make it as hard to vote as they possibly can without dealing with ideas, without appealing to people, particularly in places that are getting more black and brown. Now, Texas is a little bit more fortunate, because as California got majority, California is very liberal, right? Texas, not so much. More of your Hispanic audience is not so likely to automatically go Democratic as black folks are. But that being said, that time is coming too. Go back to Betos, campaign, where he got a lot closer than a lot of people thought he would. There's these Democrats that are coming out of nowhere. Now they're getting ready to be outnumbered. And so you have to get that young segment, because this young segment, college educated, Trump does good with people that don't go to college. Don't go to college and people that don't have critical thinking skills, with all due respect to those that do have critical thinking skills. And so that's the battleground. Divide and conquer is getting harder, but if we can keep them from voting, then we can hang in there just a little bit longer.
You know, and again, Michael, they understand if you make it, see, this is the people understand. If you make it harder, you can knock the numbers down. That's the whole deal. They want to make it harder.
Exactly. And Republicans are masters at this. Now, we need to outsmart them at their own game. And to pick up what Joe just said, and I'm going to reference back to something you and I have talked about, Roland. Joe talked about critical thinking skills. And people who go to college students are much more likely to also have taken a political science class, which means they can see through a lot of the nonsense that Republicans are trying to feed to them as well. But, you know, Roland, we've talked about this numerous times before, and I've talked about how I think a lot of the civil rights leaders, I think they're very committed. They mean well. I think they made a tactical mistake by not expanding who was harmed by voter suppression bills. It's not just African Americans. It's white college students, it's Latinos, Asian Americans, white women. And I've talked about how they needed to link up when they were trying to get the voting rights bill passed, the John Lewis voting rights bill. You need to link up with the women's reproductive movement, women's reproductive rights movement, white women. You have 48 million disabled Americans who are registered to vote. When you talk about taking away drop boxes, ballot drop boxes, things like this, or mail-in ballots, that hurts them of all different races. So a lot of the civil rights leaders, we love them, but they keep acting like this is 1965, Selma, Alabama. No, Republicans are trying to suppress the vote of people who are more likely to vote Democratic, regardless of race, even though we're the #1 target. And you talk about Texas. Lastly, Smith versus Allwright, 1944, U.S. Supreme Court case. You study the history of Texas. Texas had all-white Democratic primaries where African Americans were not even allowed to vote in those primaries. So you study the history of Texas, you understand the voter suppression laws. We can see this coming. So this is another reason why elections have consequences, and as we have to vote strategically and vote these people out of power. All right. Okay, so check that out at that's on Roland's YouTube channel, and it's on Facebook, and download the Black Star Media app. That is from February 17th, 2023. Okay, we were talking about proposed Texas House Bill 2390 bans voting on college campuses. And that day, let's see here, that day, the title of that day's broadcast, Texas College Campus Poll Bill, and then Tyree Nichols, cops plea, South Carolina teacher attacks Black student All-Star Weekend. All right, lastly, before we get out of here, I was interviewed by Fox 11 Los Angeles a few weeks ago during Black History Month. And this was dealing with Pio Pico, okay, Pio Pico, who was the last Mexican governor of California before California became a state in the Union in 1850. It became territory of the United States in 1848 because of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which is the treaty that ends the Mexican-American War. Now, if I can find this here. Okay, where is this? All right. So I was contacted by somebody at Channel 11 for this story, to interview me for this story. Let me pull up this picture here. And let's go to this clip. Okay, just I have to cue this up because we're not on 9:10 a.m. WFDF now, and I have to operate the boards. All right, let's go to this clip here. This is from February 9th, 2023.
Similarities in our history than differences.
Pio Pico was born in 1801 at the San Gabriel Mission. He first became governor in 1832, which was after independence from Spain. By then, Mexico had already had a black indigenous president, Vicente Guerrero, who had abolished slavery 3 years earlier.
In 1870, he actually sold the San Fernando Valley here in order to build the Pico House.
He was wealthy, and he built the first three-story building in Los Angeles, the Pico House Hotel in Placita Olvera, which still stands today.
We were the wild, wild west at that time, so a hotel with indoor plumbing was amazing.
He would eventually lose the hotel and his fortune.
As the American culture started seeping in and coming into California, that's when he started having some losses in the business world.
After a legal battle that lasted for years, he was eventually evicted from his 21-room mansion in what is now Whittier. He died penniless at the age of 93. But thanks
of the most.
Let me back this up. I'm going to start it from the beginning.
He has one of the most recognizable names in the city of LA, but he's often overlooked when it comes to our textbooks. This Black History Month, Christy Fajardo introduces us to Pio Pico, an Afro-Latino who once ruled over Alta California.
One of LA's busiest boulevards bears his name. So does the city, and although many have heard of Pio de Jesus Pico, they may not know he was one of the wealthiest men in the state and one of the most powerful. Don Pico was the last governor of Alta California during Mexican rule, and he was Afro-Latino.
And this is his walking stick.
Kathy Atencio gives tours of Pico's mansion in Whittier, which is now a state park. His pictures adorn the walls where he once entertained a who's who of California society.
He loved having parties. He was a party animal.
He was a businessman so astute, he amassed more than 500,000 acres of land, owning the area now known as Anaheim, most of the San Fernando Valley, and northern San Diego County.
Approximately the height was in 1855. He went and made a $25,000 bet with one horse race. He lost the race, he lost the bet, and he didn't even care at that moment. He was so rich. And now that $25,000 is equivalent to about $1 million bet in today's money.
His ancestors were a mix of African, indigenous, and Spanish.
You know, it was recognized that he had this mixed heritage, but he was still able to become a successful businessman in his own right.
Despite humble beginnings, he and his brother turned a small store they started to support their family after their father died into a cattle ranching empire, leveraging his power to become governor of a territory that was far more than just modern-day California. Not once, but twice.
Pio Pico was very powerful because he was and power was all in land.
It's a hidden part of history, and it's a hidden part of Mexican history.
Michael Imhotep is the host of the African History Network and contributor to blackthen.com. He says Pio Pico is just one of many Afro-Mexicans who helped shape the West and is an example of the common history between blacks and Latinos in our state.
So when we start going back in history, we start seeing more similarities in our history than differences.
Pio Pico was born in 1801 at the San Gabriel Mission. He first became governor in 1832, which was by then Mexico had already had a black indigenous president, Vicente Guerrero, who had abolished slavery 3 years earlier.
In 1870, he actually sold the San Fernando Valley here in order to build the Pico House.
He was wealthy, and he built the first three-story building in Los Angeles, the Pico House Hotel in Placita Olvera, which still stands today.
We were the wild, wild west at that time, so a hotel with indoor plumbing was amazing.
He would eventually lose the hotel and his fortune.
As the American culture started seeping in and coming into California, that's when he started having some losses in the business world.
After a legal battle that lasted for years, he was eventually evicted from his 21-room mansion in what is now Whittier. He died penniless at the age of 93. Thanks to his legacy, his sprawling adobe was never torn down. It's now a state park where visitors can walk its halls and learn that California once had a black governor. Christy Fajardo, Fox 11 News.
And if you'd like to learn how you can tour Pico's old mansion, or if you'd like to check out blackthen.com, we've put the links on our website, foxla.com.
All right. So pretty good segment. So just so you know, they interviewed me for about 30 to 40 minutes, right? And I'm going through breaking down history, but only a fragment made it into the segment, because the segment is about 3 minutes long. So that's how it goes, especially when you deal with local news. All right. If you like this type of information, please support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App. $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. The substance, keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting the show, pay some of the bills, etc., upgrade equipment. We have our Cash App, PayPal information right on the homepage of our website, TheAHNHistoryNetwork.com, and information about the radio show, our social media handles here as well, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Be sure to register for the online history classes I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. Saturdays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ancient Kemet, one of the original names for Egypt, the Moors and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade. What they didn't teach you in school, you can pay debit card, credit card. It's on sale $80, regularly $130. Even after the course is over with, you can go back and watch the entire course over and over again. You still have full access. Next class is Saturday, March 11th. Then Sundays, I teach Black resistance movements from the Haitian Revolution, the U.S. Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, and Black Power Movement, 1800 to 1968. Same format, same pricing structure. And then we have a bundle pack where you get both classes for $120. It's a $300 value because you get 5 of my lectures free in digital format. They'll be in the video library. Okay, so we have the bundle pack also for $120. Then if you've taken any of our online classes in the past, email us at TheAHNShow@theAfricanHistoryNetwork.com or email us right through the website. You get a 50% discount on the course bundle. Okay, 50% discount. All right, look, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk